It's Games for the Galaxy. Hello and welcome to Games for the Galaxy. I'm RossTweetsGames and I love video games. Each week I'll be bringing on a special guest and dropping the absolute bombshell to them that aliens exist. They're going to have to answer a series of questions all about the games that hold a special place in their hearts to help convince our galactic friends that video games are bloody brilliant. Before we get started, I just wanted to say thank you so much for turning this podcast on. I hope you enjoy it, I hope you continue enjoying it, and I hope you listen out for future episodes. It would be great after you've listened to it to leave a 5-star review and also a comment so more people can find it. You can also follow me on Twitter at RossTweetsGames or on Blue Sky, Ross.tweets.games. That's my name. It's what I do. The whole idea of this podcast is to have someone on in the gaming space and shine a light on them. Whether that's someone that streams on Twitch or YouTube or any other platform, whether it's someone with a podcast, or whether it's someone that's in the gaming industry themselves. Just real people talking about the games that they love, but they also get abducted by aliens. My very first guest on the podcast is Ziggy Princess. Ziggy is an incredibly talented streamer and content creator, and you can find her on Twitter, Blue Sky, and on Twitch. Me and Ziggy talked for about an hour about games that she loves, and it was a lot of fun, and I think you're really going to enjoy it. So without further delay, here is the very first episode of Games for the Galaxy. I'm not going to do that every time, don't worry. Hi, and welcome to Games for the Galaxy. I'm your host, RossTweetsGames, and today I am beyond delighted to announce my very first special guest. She's an incredibly talented streamer and content creator, and she's also my very own tiefling twin and podcast guinea pig. It's Ziggy Princess! Yay!
Yay! Hi! Hello! This
Hello.
is very cool. This is cool. Thank you. I think it's the nicest thing you've ever said to me. That's very nice.
We've got to start on a positive note and then see how the podcast goes, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah,
thank you
true.
for joining and being the very first guest.
No, you're welcome. Ross, it's an honour to be asked at all. It's an honour. I think this is cool, and I think this is the start of something really cool, and I'm excited to see where it goes.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
You've been instrumental in sort of getting me to this point because, you know, I first talked to you about it and you said, you've got to do this. So
it's true.
Here I am. Yeah. And I hope I sound clear because I invested in a £30 mic and then Ziggy went out and got an even better mic. So she should sound clearer.
Yeah, but this is the rule, Ross, in our friendship. You know, we've been friends, 3 years now? And if you haven't learned that I have to do everything a little bit better than you, then, you know, you clearly don't know me very well at all.
You don't just do things a little bit better than me. You do things much better than me.
All right. In my defense, it was because a lot of people were saying that my mic wasn't the best. And when I was going back and highlighting VODs and when I was going back and editing my highlights and my VODs, my mic would cut in and out. So you doing this podcast and talking about it with me, and then when we did that test and my microphone was just awful, I took it as a sign from the greater beings that I needed a better mic. So obviously I had to go out and get a better one. So yeah, that was...
Well, this sort of brings me on to my first point, because you put out a sort of tweet or Blue Sky post the other day saying about where you started, and it was a picture of your very first setup, and it was a chair and your PlayStation, and you said, you know, this is all you need to get started. But it's now been an evolution where you've sort of pieced together your setup. You've got a great PC now, a great mic. So, yeah, it's fantastic to see. But what I want to know, because there might be people and they might not know who you are, which is insane. They should know who you are. But just for those people, tell us a little bit about yourself and why you stream.
Okay, so I am Ziggy Princess, and I am in South Wales. I'm a variety streamer. It was a weird thing, really, because when I've been gaming all my life, right? And when I heard about streaming for the first time, I was a bit like, why would people want to watch someone else play games when they could just play games themselves? This is a very uneducated opinion that I had at the time, and I've learned better then. And since joining Twitter and becoming a part of that gaming space and learning about all these new games that I would never have touched with a 10-foot barge pole before, and sort of becoming a part of that world, you sort of met a lot of different people. And one of those people is Molly. So Molly Jatroli, if you don't know who she is, you should follow her because she's amazing. And basically she was streaming a little bit, and she sort of said to me, like, why don't you stream? And as I said just now, you know, I was like, why would anybody want to watch me stream? I don't really understand it. And then, like the way I pushed you to do this podcast, a lot of people pushed me to do streaming. So I started just on mic because obviously, you know, I wasn't the most confident person ever. I was like, you know, what do I talk about? Why would people want to come and watch me? You know, those kinds of things. And then it just sort of became a part of me then. I can't really explain it, but like the community that's sort of being built around me at the moment is so amazing. Like it's seeing those people and then seeing your reactions and making memes and coming to your stream every week to tell you how they're doing and to tell you what games they're playing, also to get hyped about the games that you're playing, to celebrate your victories. You know, it's really special. It's just a really cool thing. So it just sort of happened naturally, really. It just sort of, I was able to have the tools to start. And then by just other people supporting, like, you know, you bought me the PlayStation 5 camera. So that was the very first time.
A lot since then.
Right? So that was the very first time that I was like, okay, let's do this on camera. And then, you know, Stu was like, oh, you know, have a green screen. And then, you know, I had the green screen then. And it just sort of, every time I do a stream, I'm always like, what can I do better? What's next? And I've always got my eye on something next to make my streams better.
Are we allowed to know what's next?
Like good lighting is my next one.
Okay.
Yeah, my lighting's not great, but also I miss my green screen. But where I've moved to, the lighting just doesn't work and it goes like fuzzy behind me. And I've got hideous standards. My standards are very like, I want everything to be perfect. So yeah, so that's my next thing. And then I don't know, maybe a better camera. I don't know. We'll see, guys.
I did get ahead of myself, and my very first question that I was going to ask you got completely snowballed over. But it's about your username, Ziggy Princess. Where did that come
Ross,
from?
Why would you know where it comes from? Why would you do this?
I don't know. I have no idea where it comes from.
Yes, you do.
I've never heard this story before. Please tell me where your username comes from.
All right. You are a git, though. I hate talking about it, but it is what it is now.
It's
so very many moons. It is. Yeah, it is now. I can't escape it. But many, many moons ago, I had just bought an Xbox. So it was for Gears of War, because, you know, Gears of War is one of the best games ever. So I got an Xbox. Yeah, I know, big up Gears, right? And that was the reason I bought an Xbox. So once I got it, because it was like the first next-gen console that I saw. You know, like seeing the Halo graphics for the first time and seeing Gears of War graphics. Jumping from the PS2 to that, I was mind blown. So I went out, I got an Xbox. And then it was like, username. And obviously, I've never had a username before. So I was thinking about things, and at the time, Big Brother was out, and there was a guy on there that I quite fancied, and he was called Ziggy, and I was like, oh, Ziggy's quite nice. Let's just go with Ziggy. Didn't think anything of it, right? Because, you know, why would anybody ask me where Ziggy comes from, right? This was many, many years ago.
Absolutely.
Obviously, then I joined Twitter to be an educational account. And then I remember doing one post about Ocarina of Time, actually. It was when Epona, I know I pronounced that wrong, but I'm not changing it now. Epona jumps over the fence, and people didn't know that was a thing. And it had loads of engagement. And this is when I sort of discovered gaming social media. And I was like, oh my God, this is the best thing ever. Like, I've got all these people to talk about games with. So I was like, well, I mean, I've been Ziggy for all this time on my Xbox, so I'll just be Ziggy on Twitter. So I changed it to Ziggy. Obviously, it was already taken. So the princess side of it is because when I used to teach, I also did princess parties on the weekends. So I dress up as different Disney princesses to go to children's birthday parties. So that's where the princess comes from. So that's because I'm a big Disney lover as well. So that is where Ziggy Princess comes from. So yeah, thanks for that.
Amazing. Do you know what? You said I knew that story. I knew half of that story. I never knew about the Ziggy thing coming from Big Brother.
Really? Okay, all right.
Yeah, that's the first time I've ever heard that. Because you used to on your Twitter, you used to say the Z stands for Zelda.
That was from somebody else. That was from a different account. They said that, and I was like, "Oh, I like that." So I kind of I try to veer people away from the Ziggy thing. And I'm like, please don't ask. So when people ask me, I'm like, oh my God, because I had to talk about it on stream the other day and I was so embarrassed. It is my secret shame, but it is what it is now. I can't change from Ziggy,
you are now.
So
exactly, you are Ziggy Princess.
I wasn't expecting to like, you know, have this social media account and do all the streaming and stuff. So if I could go back in time and tell my younger self not to choose Ziggy, I probably would. But it's fine because everyone assumes it's David Bowie, and that's fine. So.
I mean, that would be cooler. I'm not going to lie. If you said, I'm a massive Bowie fan, I'd be like, yeah, that's a pretty cool nickname. But no, right? It's Ziggy from Big Brother.
It's really, yeah.
Wonder where he is now.
The lamest reason to call yourself after somebody you fancy, right? That's really lame.
Yeah. Right. On this podcast, Ziggy, we like to ask very hard-hitting questions. And this one is quite personal. So if you don't want to answer it, that's absolutely fine, okay? But I'm going to ask it anyway.
Okay.
Because I feel like people really want to know this. Okay?
Okay.
Do you believe that aliens exist?
Oh my gosh. Right out the gate, you're going to ask me an insane question like that?
I know we've known each other for 3 years, and even then it feels like it's too soon to ask you.
It's mad that you didn't ask me that straight away, you know? I feel like that's something you need to know about somebody, you know? It's
I know.
I absolutely do believe that aliens exist. Yes, I do.
Okay. Any thoughts on, you know, what's out there? Do you believe that they're smarter than us? Do you feel like they know we exist?
I think if they knew that we existed, I feel like they would have made communication. But I think it's pretty arrogant of the human race to believe that they're the only ones that have found a habitable planet and created life when... You know, there's been organisms found on Mars and things like that.
Well, do you believe that when you say you believe there's something out there, do you believe that they're like us, or do you think that, you know, an organism on a different planet does count as a alien?
I'd like to imagine there's like different worlds. So like there's one that's like all the Avatar people.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
What are they called again?
I just think they're cool.
The Navi? Is that
Navi.
right?
Yeah, Avatar's one of my favourite films, Ross. It's the Navi, okay?
Oh, yeah. God. One of your favourite film franchises that you've only seen the first one and still haven't seen the second one.
Yeah, but the second one's going to be rubbish, let's be honest. I just can't be bothered. The first one's great, though. The first one's great. I don't know, I haven't seen it.
First one's great. Second one, who cares? We've seen the first one. We don't need more.
I like to think, I've got a bit of a creative imagination, so I'd like to think that they'd sort of adapt to the world around them in a much cooler way than we have. Do you know what I mean? So, like, for example, like the Zora would exist. Okay, so, like, you know, like things like the Zora from Zelda franchise, like they'd exist in the water. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
And they'd be really cool. And they'd adapt to their surroundings.
So do you believe there's a water planet, a fire planet?
Yeah, one of those. I just, honestly though, right, I know it sounds a bit like tinfoil hat-esque, right? But I am a full believer in the pyramid conspiracy that, like, aliens help build them.
Is this the new one?
Yeah. No, not that. Yeah, that's cool, by the way. Yeah, that's really cool. With all the cylinders going down into the
underground
earth,
city beneath the pyramid.
Right? Like, it's just, for me, okay, I just don't, like, they've talked about it for ages, but they've always talked about, like, how difficult it would have been and, like, the physics of it. Like, building those pyramids and those gigantic bricks, you know, and things like that. And then, like, the fact that the 3 pyramids are completely in line with the stars.
Okay.
That's crazy. Yeah. That's crazy intelligence to do that.
You believe pyramids are from aliens? UFOs?
I sound mental now, but you can cut this if you want. But yeah, I do. There's a little part of me that just thinks the fact that we exist is proof that life lives. So what's to say that, you know, if you think of how, you know, we can't even fathom how big the universe is, right? So, like, there's got to be something else out there. There just has to be. There has to be.
Well, I think it's the unknown, isn't it? We don't know. We don't know. So therefore, how can you completely rule it out? But I lied, because I do know. I know that aliens are real. And not only are they real, Ziggy Princess, but they've abducted you.
Oh, God.
How do you feel?
I don't know, scared. Am I going to have, like, a Cartman South Park experience, or am I going to have, like, a nice abduction experience?
I think it's going to be a nice experience.
Oh, good. I'd like to think so.
Because I've got a bit of news about these aliens, and that is that they're really nice. They're
good. Oh, yeah,
they're really nice aliens. They just love life. Great. They love everything. They're very much like us. So let me tell you why you've been abducted, okay?
Okay.
So these aliens, they're very much like us.
Okay.
except for one thing. They have never played video games. They don't know what they
Oh my
are. Can you imagine?
God. That's
I
sad
know.
times.
Awful, isn't it? But what they like to do from time to time is they visit Earth. And the last visit, they noticed a lot of people were playing video games on games consoles, on PCs, on mobile phones. It's a thing. People can do that if they want to. So they were going, what's this all about? We wanna know. And the only way that they could think of finding out more about video games is abducting one of Twitch's best streamers, Ziggy Princess. And they've got a series of questions that they want to ask you all about your favorite video games so that they can understand why we love them. And the very first question they want to ask you, Ziggy Princess, is, what is the first game you remember playing?
Okay. So there's a few games that I remember playing from back in the day. So there's things like The Lion King and Aladdin on the Sega. There was things like Micro Machines, which is literally still one of the best games in existence.
Top-down one, yeah.
Yeah, you have races over over the kitchen sink and stuff. It's amazing.
It's a great game.
So those are like some of my oldest memories, and like Sonic, things like that.
Classics,
but like the oldest game that I remember playing was Soccer Kids, which was on the Commodore 64, which was my first ever console. So yes, I am showing my age. I am 35 in a few weeks. Very depressing.
Now, I don't know a lot about Soccer Kid, so you're going to have to
it's fine. You don't need to
explain the game to me. But first of all, I want to know, so Commodore 64, was this something that you were given? Was it your parents? Set the scene.
Yeah, so basically, my dad is a massive gamer. Like, it is just his one of many hobbies that he has. So he loves playing chess, cycling, guitar, and gaming. So I tried doing guitar. I'm not going cycling. I don't want to. I like chess, but who's got the time, really, Ross? So gaming is the one I landed on, and basically, my dad just bought the Commodore 64 for himself, really. But then obviously my sister and I were like, ooh, hi, what's that? Hello. This is kind of when gaming was exciting because it was such a new avenue. It was such a new technology. It was like very unspoken about, it was kind of like
absolutely
everyone just thought of gaming as like Space Invaders or Pong or Pac-Man, right? So the fact that these games were starting to evolve, it was an interesting time. If you look at how much gaming has come on, it's insane. And yeah, so my dad got Soccer Kid, and honestly, right, I did a retro month in January this year. And I replayed it, right? And honestly, you know how bad my memory is, but I just could not believe how little I could remember. Right. But basically, I was like, oh yeah, I'll do a stream with Soccer Kid. It'll be great. And it's really, really hard. And I can't play it now. So I think when I was younger, I just used to run back and forth and not play it properly.
What do you do? Because I just imagine it. I've never seen gameplay of Soccer Kid. I've never seen what you do. I just imagine it as a very old FIFA, which I'm guessing is not at all.
No, it's not at all. No. Okay, so it's basically you are a kid, and ironically,
and
aliens.
You like soccer.
Yes, but you're giving away spoilers, Ross. Building up to that, man. But ironically, aliens have come to the Earth to steal the World Cup.
Oh, okay. Well,
there you go.
Different aliens. It's not them.
Yeah, they're not nice.
They're getting a bad name for this, but they had nothing to do with it.
Yeah, so I probably wouldn't recommend this to your alien friends, unless you are the alien. Are you the alien?
I can be the alien if you want me to. Maybe I'm.
Oh my God, how scary.
Maybe I'm a projection from the aliens. They're using me because you know me. Like the real Ross isn't here. He's out.
Oh my God.
He's out tweeting games.
Yeah.
And I'm just a projection,
somewhere.
To make you someone familiar.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, maybe we'll go with that.
Right. So basically the story, as far as I'm aware, I can't quite remember, but it's something to do with like aliens want to steal the World Cup or something. So it all comes down to Soccer Kid to save the day. So you basically start from your hometown, and it's a 2D platformer where you are armed with a football, the greatest weapon in gaming, and you basically just have to hit all the annoying people. So, like, there's a postman just trying to do his job. You just got to hit him with a football, get him out your way. You can hit birds. There's rats. There's, like, a boy on a bike. Hit him off with a ball. But, right, it's really annoying because 2D platformers are quite hard. I'm not the best platform gamer in the world, considering I've played so many. I'm not going to even pretend that I'm good at platformers. But if you kick the ball and it, like, pops on spikes, then you just don't have a ball. So essentially, when I played this game when I was younger, I would lose the ball immediately, just run back and forth a little bit, die, and then just give up. And that was the first game that I played.
Really getting you ready for the Dark Souls games, wasn't it?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's got me ready for the the difficult games.
How strange! So you can't get the ball back after it's popped.
Ross,
you have to just
I couldn't
restart.
even get past the first level. I learned this year. I couldn't even get past the first. I even tried speed running it without the ball just to like see what the end of the level was like. No, so I couldn't even get past the first level. Like these how games were back in the day.
Yeah,
like they would make or break you, and this game broke me again.
I'm surprised that you continued with this hobby. That you didn't just go
right.
No, I'm done now.
Literally, do you know what? If that was the only game, I wouldn't be here talking to you right now, honestly. I wouldn't be gaming 100%. It's oh my God, it's hideous.
Amazing.
Hideous, but...
Right, well, the next question that the aliens want to know is, what game made you cry the most? Do you cry a lot in games?
I am a bit emotional, yeah. I do get a bit emotional with stuff. Thing is with me is the reason I love gaming so much is because of the stories they tell. Mm-hmm. So like... I know a lot of people talk about graphics or gameplay, but at my core, it's all about the story. If I'm not engaged with the characters or the story, I don't want to know. I will end that game as quick as I can. So when you have these really good, well-written characters, that have their good arcs and things, I just live for it. So when a game is sad, I get really upset about it. And I can cry for a long time. So like Final Fantasy X was one that I cried a lot. I think it was like half hour. I think I ugly cried for like half an hour. But you'll be happy to know, well, I don't know if you'll be happy to know, I know it's one of your favorite games. But the game that made me cry the most was, and not just because of the gameplay, but the game that made me cry the most was Death Stranding.
Amazing.
Right?
I love that you've chosen this because your experience with it is, it's kind of two ways, isn't it? Like the first way is that it made you cry and you're emotional. And the second way is, what was that? It was that you weren't a fan of the gameplay, I guess. That's the way to say it.
But I'll focus on the actual part of the question in regards to Death Stranding.
Absolutely.
So obviously without spoilers, because you know how I feel about spoilers, I don't care if a game is like 1 million years old. Even for these aliens, I will not spoil this game for you because I wouldn't take that away. I would not take that experience away from somebody.
Thank you.
Good. I'm glad. But basically... just the whole story of Sam's struggle. And like, there's some of the best written characters I've ever experienced in Death Stranding. That's why this game annoys me so much because the story's so good. But like, you've got Mama, her story made me cry. And that wasn't even like the end, but her story as a mum myself. Oh my God, Mama was amazing. The whole thing with Fragile, absolutely amazing. The whole thing with Cliff, absolutely amazing. Lou, the baby, I will defend with my life forever. And basically just watching Sam struggle. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. The thing is, I don't know how to feel about the sequel yet. I'm going to wait. Okay. I am going to wait. But the story was so good that I had to get to the end and seeing Sam's journey. So I do get it. I get why you have to struggle through the game, right? But
yeah, absolutely.
Seeing Sam's journey at the end and how everything just kind of met in the middle and all the big twists and turns and the reveals, even with the worst line in gaming, that is a hill I'll die on, right? And you know the line I'm talking about, right? It's the worst line in gaming. And it makes me physically recoil every time I hear it.
Anyone listening who's played it knows that line.
I honestly, it's the worst line ever. And even then, Ross, right? I ugly cried for about an hour and a half. It was ridiculous. It was insane. I had so much, I don't know whether it was like frustration or I don't know, but it was just the tragedy of all these characters and the just how depressing the world was and everything else. It was just, honestly, it's a what's the word? It's like an ode to how good the writing is because it got me so emotional. Like, honestly, it got me so emotional. Like, you can say what you want about Kojima. He makes a good game. Like, even if the game wasn't particularly for me, would I ever play it again? Absolutely not. Oh my God, right? But honestly, I got so emotional by that end. Like, I cared about those characters so much. Yeah. So much. Honestly, it was insane.
What you said is perfect, is that Kojima, for every weird thing that he puts in that game, underneath it all is a story that's really worth experiencing and being told.
I ugly cried for like an hour and a half. It was ridiculous.
What is a game you didn't think you'd like, but you ended up loving it?
When you sent me that question originally, I was like, oh, I don't know. Because I don't like a lot of games and then I'll play them and then I really like them. As you know, I am a bit like that. It's really hard to get me into a new game. I'm very settled in my franchises. So like for me to break away and try something new, I am working on it, Ross. I promise you I'm working on it. I am getting better. But honestly, when I joined gaming Twitter many years ago, the amount of people I saw with Yakuza profile pictures, right? And people would talk about Kira all the time and Majima and... oh my God, Ichiban. Sorry. Ichiban, am I saying that right?
I don't know, because I've not got to the ones where he's in it yet. So I don't know how to say his name.
Yeah, well, the thing is, you'll understand where I'm feeling then, because
absolutely.
You'll understand where I'm coming from, because like Kira and Majima are like big characters, but everybody who loves Yakuza seems to have Ichiban as their profile picture. And I'm like, how can this character be better?
How can he be possibly be better than Kiryu?
Right? Anyway. I never wanted to play the Yakuza games. I was just like, nah, it's not going to be for me. Yeah. I don't really get it. All I knew about the Yakuza games was that they do karaoke, and everyone loves the karaoke. And all I knew about it was the gif of Majima and Kiru, and they're just dancing on a 90s dance floor. With
Friday
all the, you know, like John Travolta in the white suit, you know? And I was just like, I don't get it. I don't understand why people love this game. I was like, I don't get it. I was like, I don't understand it. Oh, then I played Yakuza 0. My God. Was my world changed. Oh man, honestly, right? For anybody listening, if there's people going on about a game to you, sometimes just take the dive and just go for it. Because honestly,
absolutely.
It's changed everything. I love Yakuza so much. It's actually insane.
I'm very similar, because I feel like our journeys with Yakuza is similar. But I think I might be one game ahead of you. No, you're on Yakuza Kiwami 2. I just finished Yakuza Kiwami 2, so we're similar. And I was exactly the same. I was like, I don't really feel like there's anything there for me. But then playing it and realizing that it's not just fighting, which I thought at first. There's so much in those games. It's incredible.
It's crazy. I was the other way, because I was like, everyone's just going on about this karaoke and it just seems really goofy. I was like, I just don't understand why everyone loves this goofy game.
SingStar. I don't need to play Yakuza.
Yeah. I was like, I don't get it. And then I can't even remember why I took the dive and just bought and just installed Yakuza 0. I can't even remember why I did it, but I was like, all right, I'm just going to try it. And I played like one chapter. No, I don't even think it was that. I think it was like the opening section of Yakuza 0. You know, like when you haven't even started the menu and the music starts playing. Yeah. Kira's walking down the street with a cigarette. Oh my, the music kicks in. I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. And then you meet Kiru. And the voice acting, oh my God, Kiru is the greatest man on earth. Like, he is what every man should strive to be. Honestly.
I agree.
He's amazing.
I agree, because he's the perfect man.
He is literally the perfect man. I'm sorry, but he is. He is loyal. He is truthful. He is resilient. He's strong as hell. And he's a gentleman. He'll batter a guy, but he'll pull the chair out for you, you know? He's a good guy. He's a good egg. He's a good egg. But yeah, and what I found about Yakuza is how they do that tonal shift from insanely goofy. Like, you've got, I don't know, Majima dressed up, you know, in drag on a date with Kiru. And then in the same scene, like in the main scene that's following that side quest, you're like talking to this child that's dying, and like the tonal shifts, and it's insane. It's crazy how Yakuza can make me cry and laugh so much in one game. Like that shouldn't work, but for some reason Yakuza pulls it off perfectly, and I don't think any other game could. I really don't think any other game could pull it off the way Yakuza does. And like Majima, like the characters, oh my God, I adore it so much. Like all the characters are so well written.
The Majima introduction in Yakuza 0, that cutscene, it might be about half an hour. It's really long, but I was just, my jaw was on the floor. I was just so into it.
It was honestly his introduction in the brand
to a character ever. Yeah.
Because the thing is, I only went into the Yakuza games knowing about Kiru in the grey suit, knowing about Majima, obviously, because a lot of people, you know, rightly so, love Majima, and Ichiban, who I've not met yet. And I apologise if I'm saying that name completely wrong as well. I say their names quite wrong. It's my Welsh twang, I think. I do apologise.
They're your characters. They belong to you. You call them...
Okay, yeah, I like that. Yeah, let's go with that.
I call Kira daddy.
But honestly, Yakuza, I think, was the biggest surprise, and I'm really pleased that I give it a go. So
fantastic. I think it's a brilliant answer. What game is terrible, but you love it anyway? So it might not be critically received, but you still really enjoy it. No matter what anyone else says, you're like, this game is good.
I'm a bit worried about my answer, Ross. I'm not going to lie, because I feel like it's quite controversial. And I don't mean for it to be, because it is literally one of my favorite games ever, right? But I would never recommend anyone else to play it.
I'm intrigued. Go.
It's Final Fantasy VIII.
Okay.
Right. No, hear me out.
That's a brilliant answer.
Hear me out, okay? Because you know how much I love Final Fantasy VIII, right? It is like in my soul, that game.
You love it so much you made me play it.
I love it so much I make everybody play. No, I don't really. But like I had their music in my wedding. Like I love Final Fantasy. Like I've played Final Fantasy VIII so many times. I will just play that game on repeat for the rest of my life. I just love it. I love the opening when when Squall and Quistis are walking down the corridor and then the Balam Garden music starts playing. Oh my God, it just gives me life. I love it so much. Okay, let me just start this by saying how much I love this game, right? But since joining Twitter and Blue Sky, I have learned how much people despise 8, and the fact that having 8 as your favorite is quite rare. That's not the majority take. And most people will say 7, obviously. A lot of people will say 10. Some are preferring the newer style, so they'll say like 16 or Rebirth, which rightly so, because Rebirth is great. Very rarely they'll say 8. And I think this is proven even more so because they've remade 7. They've remade 7 into 3 parts. So you got remake, rebirth, whatever the third one's going to be, right? And then do you know what they're doing, Ross? Do you know what they're doing?
What are they doing? I don't know what they're doing.
They're skipping 8 and remaking 9.
So 8's not getting a look in?
8's not, no. Because, no one's going to play 8 anyway.
I've not played 9. I have played 7, I've played 8. I feel like 8 could do with the remake.
8
I feel like there's a really good story there. There's a really good story.
It's so
but
good.
It does suffer, and I did struggle with it, mainly because of the junction system.
This is what I mean. This is why I gave this as my answer.
But the story's so good, it's such a shame.
It's such a good game. This is the thing, like the music is so good. It's got Triple Triad, which is the second best card game ever, because I am a Gwent girl, right? I'm sorry,
incredible.
but nothing's gonna beat Gwent. But I do love Triple Triad. Remember, because you bought for me for Christmas, you got me the Triple Triad, and we played it for real in real life, and that was amazing.
In real life,
we did. It was like one of my favorite memories ever. I loved playing Triple Triad in real life. I thought it was great, and I love that game. And I wish Square Enix and like Final Fantasy would make like a phone app where you could play Queen's Blood and Triple Triad and all the other games you can play, you know, and Blitzball and stuff, and all those games that you can play in Final Fantasy, like in just one app. Like, how amazing would that be, right?
That would be incredible.
But yeah, so they've skipped 8. They've skipped 8, and they're hinting that they're going to remake 9. And I'm absolutely heartbroken, because 8 deserves the remake more than any of them. Because, like you said, if anybody said to me, you know, what is your favorite Final Fantasy? I'm going to say 8, no hesitation, 100%. Nostalgia have something to do with it? Likely, but that is my answer.
It's your answer.
But if someone then said, well, which Final Fantasy would I start with? I will always recommend 10, because I feel like 10 is sort of the... it's kind of the most, I don't know how to explain it. It's kind of like the nicest one to introduce into the franchise. Like, it's the most user-friendly, I guess.
Yeah, I've not played it, which I do need to play Final Fantasy X, I'm aware. But it strikes me as the most accessible classic Final Fantasy.
Yes, that is exactly the word I was looking for. Yes, that's why you are the interviewer and I am the interviewee. Yes, that is it. So it's definitely more accessible, and I just think it's just that little bit newer, whereas 8 is that little bit dated. Even though I know they've remastered it, and everything, I just think 8 puts a lot of people off, just because, like you said, the junctioning system. I played Final Fantasy 8 for years, because I played that when I was about 10. And I didn't even know what it was. It was my introduction to the Final Fantasy, game. And I played a lot of that game without even junctioning, which, looking back, makes me feel disgusted, because I'm like, how could you not? How could you play this game with no Guardian Force and no magic and no drawing and no items? I was like, it's crazy. And I could only get to Darlet. I couldn't get past Darlet because of that. Yeah. So when I was a little bit older, I went back to it. It clicked what the junctioning system is. And if you understand the junctioning system well, it's so broken that you can have every character hitting 9999 damage while also giving the enemy like berserk, sleep, silence, and all the other ailments that you can give in 8. And it can be really OP. But the reason I love Final Fantasy VIII so much is because it was the first time I ever discovered what they call GFs in 8. I suppose you would call icons or aeons or summons or whatever you want to call them.
Absolutely.
And I was just obsessed with them. I loved Shiva. I loved Ifrit. I know it's in
Such
three,
great
but I can't.
designs. Yeah.
They're so good design, right? And I just think they're amazing. And it just cemented Final Fantasy VIII as one I love so much.
We're going to move on to the next question, which is, what games scared you the most, and do you like playing scary games?
No, I do not like playing scary games, Ross, at all. But since I've started streaming, unfortunately, it does make the best content. So I grew up avoiding horrors. I'm very easily scared. Like I said, I've got a bit of an overactive imagination. So like if I watch a horror film, that'll stay with me for weeks and I won't be able to sleep and I'll really freak myself out. And I'll be like, yeah, but they could be behind the door. And I really freak myself out. I don't know why, but I don't know why I punish myself in such a way. But yeah, when I started streaming, I was like, oh, do you know what? I'm going to try Silent Hill.
Give them a go.
2 remake. Yeah. I was like, I'm going to give it a go. Well, what's the worst that could happen, right? It can't be that scary. I've been building myself up slowly with horror games. So Little Nightmares, for example, was kind of an introduction to it, I suppose. I'd argue that BioShock can be seen as a light horror.
Very atmospherically
very
scary,
atmospheric,
I think.
And I started to build my tolerance up to it. Then I got introduced to Resident Evil 2, which, if you remember me playing, that was scary. That was a scary game. That was one of the scariest games I've played. Mainly the police department. I feel like the rest of it wasn't as bad, but I do feel like
after that, doesn't it?
Yeah, I feel like the thing is with me is like if I know what to expect, I won't be scared. But it's more the not knowing, the unknown is what terrifies me the most. And yeah, basically Silent Hill 2 remake got announced, and I thought, okay, well, I've played Alan Wake 2. I'm starting to get better with these games, and I felt like Alan Wake 2, not that you know, because you still haven't played it. You should play Alan Wake 2.
Sorry.
Sorry, I just got to get that dig in. But yeah, like I played Alan Wake 2, and I thought, okay, well, I feel like Silent Hill 2, the remake, is very similar to Alan Wake 2. So I thought, well, if I can cope with Alan Wake, I can cope with Silent Hill. And honestly, right, there's a part in the prison, and I jumped the most I've ever jumped in my life. Like, it was insane. Like, I like to be in control of myself when I'm streaming, you know, like what I'm saying and how I am acting and how I'm sitting and how I respond to things. But when that, what did I call them? Lady Gaga's, I called them, came out from under the bed. I literally screamed. Like, so Bruno was like, my dog was like, oh my God, what's going on? Like, I really, like, it really freaked me out. And it was just, you know, like there were parts of it that just really freaked me out, and it was just hideous. So
it's an incredible game, though.
Such a good game. It's such a good game. Like, I can't wait for the new one that's been announced. Silent Hill F.
Sorry.
Is that what it's called?
Yes, yeah.
So I'm going to be streaming that when it comes out as well. So that is, I do like streaming horror games because I think people really enjoy how much of a wimp I am with it all. But I am getting better.
I think it's nice having people there. You feel a bit safer on stream.
Do you know what? That is exactly why I streamed Silent Hill 2 Remake. But I feel like now, because I am kind of thinking about going for the platinum for it, I think I could play it now. But I got to be honest, Ross, I will always play scary games on stream because you are absolutely right that having chat there makes me feel like I'm not on my own and I don't need to be so
Silent
scared.
Hill 2, I had to have my girlfriend watch me the whole time.
I'm not surprised, honestly. Like, when you, like... There's a few things I hate in horror games, right? The tropes that I hate: carnivals, right? Subways, and hospitals.
Ooh, and it's
so you know when I got up to the and you know when you got to the Silent Hill hospital, I was like, oh my God, literally, like why? Because you got The Last of Us Part 2, awful hospital section. Alan Wake 2, there's an awful hospital section in that. Little Nightmares 2. They're just like, it's just a horrible, horrible place, and nobody wants to go. And they need to.
Nobody wants to be in hospitals.
Honestly,
they're scary enough. We don't need horror games.
Honestly, and the prison all of it really. It was a great game though, but it was hideous from start to finish. But it was, you know, in the best. I'm proud of myself for playing it. So. Yeah.
Amazing. Right. What game means the most to you? It doesn't have to be your favorite game, but the memories surrounding you playing it make it special.
Okay, so I feel like people are going to know. It's a hard question to answer because I feel like Baldur's Gate should be there, right? I'm just going to give it an honourable mention because it is the closest that a game has ever come to that answer. But my answer is going to be Ocarina of Time, Legend of Zelda.
Okay.
Because nostalgia, part of it, right? But it's a game that I played when I was about 8 years old. And it was, like I said, my dad introduced my sister and I to gaming. And one of my earliest memories and favourite memories was us playing Ocarina of Time. So it would be my dad and my sister would mainly control the controller because I was too scared of any enemies. So when I played Zelda, I would literally just stay in the Kokiri. in the Kikiri area and just stay in there. And I would never leave. Yeah, and I would just be like, Saria, I'm not leaving. We're just going to stay in here forever and just
this
play.
This is the whole game. I love this game.
I would walk up to the deco tree and I'd be like, all right, and I wouldn't go in the mouth. I'd just be like, bye. I'm not doing any of the scary bits without my dad.
Just coming to say hello, goodbye.
Yeah,
back to my life in the village.
I'd run to Lon Lon Ranch and just play with Ipana all day, like loving my life as a child, and it was just wonderful. And then basically, like, you know, because back in the day you didn't have walkthroughs, you didn't have YouTube, you didn't have these things that you could just type, right, what do I do here? So it was essentially my sister, my dad and I working out these puzzles together. And I feel like the resilience to do that, I mean, props to my dad for putting up with me and my sister as well whilst trying to play a game. I think that's incredible to him, to be honest. But, you know, it was sort of like working out those things. And, you know, hearing the music, the like you got it right. Oh, do you know what? We would be so chuffed because we would sit there sometimes for ages trying to work out what to do. And then it would do the like you got it right. And it was just the best thing ever. And I just remember when
release.
Yeah, it was the best thing. And the only time we really needed help was to get the fire arrows, which you have to get from Hyrule Lake. And that was the only time my dad he sought out outside help for the game. But everything else we did ourselves. And honestly, when we saw the credits roll,
help, I imagine him calling a helpline.
I loved that
like
the
a
fact
SWAT
that those
team
existed.
coming in.
Well, he said he had a friend in work who was also playing it, and he told him how to do it, I think. But pretty much everything else we worked out ourselves. I mean, I don't know how much help I was at 8. Why didn't you try and do that? You know, I can't imagine myself being super helpful.
I'm sure you were coming up with some good
I was just happy to be a part of it. I did work out one puzzle though, and you know how bad my memory is, but there's a part in the light, is it called the Light Temple? I always call it the Desert Temple. I'm so bad with names.
I know which one you mean, yeah.
Yeah, the last one. So there's a bit where there's it's kind of like a bridge, but it's up. And then there's something you have to hit. And because you're a child again, I was like, we were there for ages. And I remember being like, Dad, what if you use the boomerang? And he was like, ooh. And he tried it and it worked and I got it right. And I honestly, I remember that. Like,
feeling.
It hit like,
You're
I was
I am the nuts, son. I am the nuts.
I was like, the guy like moonwalking up the living room, like, yeah, I got it right. Let's go. You know, it was nice. It was a nice feeling. So yeah. And I just think like the music in that game and the story and just everything about it is amazing. I love it so much. And genuinely, Ocarina of Time is what cemented this hobby for me. And it is why it'll always be the most special game, because it is just incredible. And I just love everything about it. Like even my dissertation in university, I managed to shoehorn in Zelda because I made my dissertation around the fact whether children retain more information reading or reading a story in a game, like during a cutscene.
Okay. Yeah.
And trying to work out if they remembered more. And I used the story from Ocarina of Time. I used the story about the origin of the Triforce with Din and Pharaoh and Nehru, because I love that story and stuff. And so I shoehorn it into everything I can. I possibly can. I had Zelda's Lullaby playing in my wedding, you know. I just love it so much. So yeah, between it being one of the greatest games in existence.
Meant a lot to you.
Yeah, like between like, you know, the game just being one of the best games I've ever played, cementing me as, you know, a gamer in the hobby, I suppose, and also the memories I have with my dad and my sister. I'm never going to be able to recreate that, you know. Maybe I'll create those memories with my son, and that's the bit I'm looking forward to. But for now, it's cool.
Lovely.
It's cool.
Good stuff. Right. What video game character do you have a crush on?
Oh, how much time have we got, Ross? Because there's millions. Do you want just men, just women? Like, where do you want
to... just a quick fire of names, please.
Right. I got a great answer. So my first ever crush when I was 10 was Squall from Final Fantasy VIII, obviously.
Of course.
Dark, brooding, piece of shit, don't give you anything. Yeah, I was like, he's great, right?
Lovely.
So
I'll have a bet of that, yep.
Yeah, but basically I have 3 that I really, 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 really like and talk about constantly. And that is Joel from The Last of Us, obviously.
Incredible.
Right?
Yeah.
Man in a flannel shirt, can't go wrong, right? And there's something about him being a dad that just makes him so attractive. I just can't, right? So Joel is one, Majima's another. I'm obsessed with Majima.
Okay.
I shouldn't be because he's, you know, he's so off the wall, but there's something about him. He's mental, Ross, but he just, oh my God. Like, I know I should fancy Kiru, and I do. But out of the 2, Majima's just...
Majima.
You're just going to have a good time now, let's be honest.
It's
And
gonna be a
then
lot of fun.
basically, a character that changed my brain chemistry with how much I adore them is Astarion from Baldur's Gate. And I know you knew that
We
was
knew
coming.
that was coming.
I know, I'm not even ashamed of it, but literally, I am surrounded by my loves. See?
Wow.
I've got
Just
Astarion
for
on my
anyone,
desk.
because you're not going to be able to see this. We've got an Astarion pop vinyl and a Majima duck.
They're amazing, and they stay with me. And I need to get a Joel one somewhere, but yeah.
Well, you've got a duck, you've got a pop. You need, I don't know, what else you could have Joel as.
Just a Joel figurine, I think.
A Joel plush,
Would be amazing.
maybe.
But I can give you some girl crushes
amazing.
as well, because like Tifa, I really fancy. I do like Ellie from The Last of Us as well. And Karlach's amazing. Shadowheart's amazing.
Pretty much anyone from Baldur's Gate, right?
Yeah, they're all really sexy. They are, I'm sorry. It's just, yeah. But I don't know, with Astarion, he's just beautiful. And his voice is amazing. And I know Neil Newbon said that the voice was based off his cat and how his cat would speak, which I think is hilarious.
Amazing.
And it was just everything about it. So, you know, I know a lot of people think, Astarion, yeah, face value. But when you actually play Baldur's Gate and you learn his story and how he is a survivor of trauma and how far he comes and the fact that he's manipulating you because that's his way of surviving.
Yeah.
And you see all those raw emotions in Act 3. Watching you experience that was amazing, by the way. You know, when we did the Tieflin twins in Baldur's Gate, because you mentioned that at the start of the podcast. Oh my God, it was one of the best things ever. But yeah, watching him come out from the other side and heal from those emotional scars, it just made him so much better because I just think he's so vulnerable. Like I literally, whenever I've played Baldur's Gate now, I think I'm on about 600 hours on the PlayStation, which is ridiculous, right? And every time I play it, I'll try and romance somebody else. I'll go, right, I'm going to romance Gale this playthrough. I'm going to romance Will this playthrough. And every time I get to Act 2 and he has that conversation with me, I can't. I'm like, he needs me. He needs me, and I can't do it.
I can
every time I
change
play
him.
Baldur's Gate, I have to romance Astarion. I have to. He is just an amazing character.
I think that's true love, and I think that's beautiful. What game have you replayed the most?
Ooh. Oh my God, that's such a hard question. I think it would be Final Fantasy VIII.
Yeah, I had a sneaky suspicion it might be that. It was between that and Baldur's Gate because you have played that a lot, but in a short time. But I think you played Final Fantasy VIII more over a longer time.
Yes, but the other thing as well is with Baldur's Gate, that came out last year and it keeps a record of how long you've played the game for, right?
Yeah.
Whereas when I played Final Fantasy VIII when I was like 10 and I'd spend hours and hours and hours on it, that wasn't recorded. Do you know what I mean? But like if I went 100%. On my Steam, if I go on my Steam account, there's a lot of hours there. But the other games I would suppose would be like The Sims.
Yeah.
And Ocarina of Time, definitely. I'm really bad for playing the same games over and over and over again. So, okay, so like for example now, so my Steam account, I think I don't even know when I made my Steam account, but I've only recently become like a proper PC gamer, right? Like I've only just had my PC, but I've clocked on Final Fantasy VIII. I've got 303.5 hours, and that's just on the PC. I've also played it on my PlayStation a few times. And I played it a lot when I was younger. Yeah. And like Final Fantasy X, I've got 33. Oh, no, that's not as much. But yeah, Final Fantasy VIII, I would probably say is the game I've played the most times. Like there's a few games I have that I will always play on repeat, and Final Fantasy VIII is one of them. So
fantastic. Okay. Right. We're going to ask this one and we're going to answer it very quick because we don't like to be too negative. But what's the worst game you've ever played?
Death Stranding.
So it's the game that made you cry the most, but it's also the worst game you've ever played.
Yeah, literally, it is the worst game I've ever played.
If
we're talking about gameplay, worst game I've ever played. And the fact that the story was so good and made me go through that gameplay was exhausting. And that's why I didn't want to talk about it as much when you asked me earlier. That's why I thought I'd keep it a minute, because I had this answer prepared. But yeah. Yeah, if I could just basically the reason I say that is because for me, I am the laziest gamer ever. Like I don't even like traveling in games. I like to fast travel as much as physically possible. The only time I don't fast travel is in Spider-Man, because the transversal is incredible. But I'm one of those people that, like I said, because I love the story so much, I want to get to the story. I'm not big on the journey. I'm more about the story. So the fact that you had to carry all these items and they all fall, and I'm really impatient, as you know, I found it a struggle. And I know that the game's story and the ending is all about his struggle and what he's been through. But when I play a game, I like to do it to enjoy my time. And I felt like I was actually working. So it's Death Stranding is such a weird experience for me because it's one of the best and worst games I've ever played. So emotionally and story, it's the best. But gameplay, good God, I wouldn't wish that upon anybody. But some people, I know you love the journey.
I love the journey. I
know you loved building the bridges and doing all that stuff, but I absolutely despised every part.
Yeah, I found it really therapeutic. Just sort of plotting my path and then going off. But look, it's your podcast. It's your opinion. You're not wrong. So we're okay. We're going to go to something a bit more positive, which is, what is objectively the best video game ever? So it might not be your favorite, but this is what video games are. You show someone, you show the aliens, they don't know what a video game is. This is what a video game is.
Okay. Well, the thing is, I think you're going to get annoyed that I keep answering the same thing, but it is Zelda Ocarina of Time. And I'm sorry I keep bringing it up, but there's a reason. Fine. And it's because it is considered, like, by a lot of people, the best game ever. Yep. Like, it's got one of the highest scores. Not that I go by scores usually, but it does score super high with most people that play it. Even now, even though it's a game that came out in 1998, it still holds against, right? And there's like you only played it for the first time recently, and you were saying how brilliant it was and how much you enjoyed it. And I think it's a game that's very accessible for a lot of people. And I think Zelda Ocarina of Time walked so a lot of new games could run. Do you know what I mean?
Completely agree.
I think it's had such an influence over the gaming space and setting that standard of what a game could be. And I think it has inspired a lot of open world, brilliant games from that. So I do think it's Ocarina of Time. Just because of the story, the music, the gameplay, the boss designs, the character designs, everything. Apart from the owl. We won't talk about the owl because that is one of the worst things ever. Because did you not understand what I did not say? And you're like that, yes! And then he goes through it again and oh my God.
For another hour we talk about the owl because he will trap us in a time zone.
That's why it doesn't have a perfect 100 score. But apart from that, I would just say it is just a perfect game. But I am a big Zelda fan, so I am biased.
Ziggy, you have been an incredible guest. The aliens, they're very pleased. They're like, we love this now. We want to get involved with video games.
Good.
So
I'm glad.
They've got enough
so
room on their spaceship for one video game that they're going to take from you. Okay. They're going to take it back to their planet and they're going to show everyone on their planet this video game. Okay. What video game are you giving them?
Elden Ring.
Oh, incredible answer.
Let's go.
Love that.
Elden Ring. Yeah.
Why Elden Ring? Why do you believe this is the game that everyone should play?
Okay, so I hated Elden Ring when I first played it, right? And I will say that I found it so hard and I struggled because I am not a Souls player. I am one of those casual game players that if a game is too hard, I will drop it. Elden Ring has changed my brain chemistry now where I know how good it can feel when you work for something, right? And I think Elden Ring is a perfect example of a great game because music, design, everything, right? It is just beautiful, right? You can't deny that it is one of the most stunning games in existence. If not, it is the most stunning game in existence, right?
Yeah.
But I think with Elden Ring, I wanted the aliens to have something that would take them a long time, right?
Okay.
And I wanted something that will introduce them to gaming in its greatest form. And I feel like Elden Ring, Game of the Year, definitely deserves to be put in that. I think that needs to be in this conversation because I think the game doesn't really give you any guidance. So they'd have to work it out and it would take them time. So I feel like the way that they would progress through the game would be really good because they'd have to learn it. Do you know what I mean? And they'd seek information out because there's little, they follow the breadcrumbs that Elden Ring leaves you. It's not thrown in your face. It makes them work for a little bit. But I think when they beat that first boss and they get that adrenaline, I mean, do they have adrenaline, these aliens? Maybe they don't. But if they do, or whatever they liken to adrenaline, I feel like whatever that is when you beat a boss is one of the best feelings ever. But then also, I thought I'd mention Elden Ring because although I know I'm talking about my streams a lot, my favorite thing to watch on stream are challenge runners. Right. And I think if they only had room for one game, I just feel like Elden Ring has such replayability and there's so many different ways you can play it. So there's PvP, there's co-op, there's single player, there's challenge runs, there's things like, there's streamers that connect musical instruments to, and like a dance pad and things. And there's all these creative things that they do. And I just think Elden Ring would just be such a great one, because even though we're in that age of I can just Google things, if I don't know what to do, I can just Google it. I feel like Elden Ring encouraged that conversation between people. So like when you go on Twitter and you go on Blue Sky and you say, I'm starting Elden Ring, everybody jumps in with, oh, have you tried this? What about this weapon? What is this? And I loved that game brought that out of people, because that's really hard to do these days, because most of the time people, like I said, will just Google the answer. But I feel like with Elden Ring, it just brought this, I've never seen the timeline so united in a perfect game. And I very rarely see people say bad things about Elden Ring, just because they've set that standard to a crazy level. That's why we're getting all these Souls-like games coming out now. Like there's too much of it, really. It's oversaturating the market, just because Elden Ring has changed the game, if you pardon the pun, forever.
I agree.
think.
Yeah.
And I think it's a great game for them to take back.
It's definitely a game that's allowed people who might have found the other games a little bit too difficult to have a go. And I'd say a lot of people it's clicking with. I mean, I was the same. I'd never played. I tried Bloodborne, couldn't get on with it. I got stuck on Vicar Amelia, couldn't kill her for my life, Played Elden Ring, absolutely loved it. Yeah. Went back, beat her first time. Like, it introduces you to it perfectly, and it sets you up for all the Souls games. There are a lot of them. Most of them are brilliant. So I think that's an incredible answer.
Yeah, I think like with Elden Ring, because it was the same for me, like I never played a game where, you can die just by looking the wrong way, and gravity and my God, and like it'll kill you in the most ridiculous ways. But I feel like it's built my resilience as a
learning
gamer.
Opportunity.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think when you work so hard at a boss and, you can play it anyway, like some people, I summoned a lot of people and I loved playing that game, like we did with you when you made, what was it called? It was like after Bank Statement. Weatherspoons, was that your character in Elden Ring?
JD
Weatherspoons, and he was like the best looking tarnished I've ever seen. And then basically like we, you summoned us in and we helped you with all the bosses. I just think there's so many varieties. Like Elden Ring is literally a game that you can play however you want and to whatever skill you want. And I think it's brilliant. I think there's, those little farming locations and things. And I just think when you discover something new in Elden Ring, it's really exciting sharing that with people. Does that include the DLC as well? Because I feel like Shadow of the Erdtree should
they can have the DLC.
Good, there we are. Well, then there's even more content.
Or maybe they'll beat Elden Ring and then they'll come back and they'll be like, can we download the DLC now? And we'll be absolutely.
I think, but they definitely would. But and then they could start doing like hitless runs and deathless runs and speed runs. And there's just so many variations that Elden Ring brings. And I just think it would just be an amazing game to bring back. Maybe they'll be able to contact us for a little bit of help.
Maybe we can be their helplines.
Yes, I think. Yes,
so you've been incredible. How do people find you? What are you on? When are you streaming? Tell us all that good stuff.
Thank you so much. I've enjoyed chatting with you. So I am on Twitch the most. I stream on Wednesdays, Fridays, and Sundays.
And that's just Ziggy Princess.
Yes, and usually I just start 7 p.m. BST, so UK time. I've also got my YouTube, which is still very new and it's still in its very early stages, but I'm just putting a ton of content on there. So it's more for people, for my regulars who miss my stream. There's like highlights for them to watch. And it's a good opportunity for me to look at my streams and go, right, what can I do better? So my YouTube highlights are all there as well. Since I've started uploading shorts, I've got a TikTok too. I'm not that active on TikTok, but I thought, well, I'm making it on shorts. If I find one person that wants to come to my stream through TikTok, it'll be worth it. And then generally I'm just on Blue Sky and Twitter as Ziggy Princess as well. And that's just where I upload like just day-to-day gaming thoughts or pictures of my setup or montages of things. And all those kind of, and all the games I love that we haven't talked about today, but maybe we could in the future.
Maybe they will abduct you again in the future.
Oh, we can only hope so if they're this pleasant.
We can only hope.
I want an alien film where they're just pleasant,
Just pleasant, talking about video games.
They're just nice, and then they go about their day and we go about ours. I think that's great. I think it's lovely.
I think that's a franchise in the making.
I think so, yeah.
So yeah, that was episode 1 of Games for the Galaxy. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you go and follow Ziggy on Twitter and on Blue Sky, and make sure you tune into some of her Twitch streaming. Big thank you from me for listening the whole way, and yeah, we'll do more of these, I think. I know it's a little bit rough around the edges being a new podcast, and, I'm still finding my feet, so I really appreciate if you made it all this way. And as you have made it all this way, I believe that every good game should have a little stinger, something after the credits, so here's mine for this podcast, and enjoy it. Games. Goodbye.